just tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you're from Scotland. Can you tell us a little bit more than that? So tell us just a little bit of your background.
That's the most important thing. Proud Scot, absolutely. Grew up in a tiny wee town called Aberfeldy in Scotland. Studied in Edinburgh, which kind of feels like home now, and then bounced around the UK working for HSBC on their grad scheme, at which point they offered me a job here. Maybe to kick me out, I don't know.
Great. Well, we plan on keeping you for as long as we can. But tell us a little bit, because I know that when you were a teenager, you were in quite high-level sport. Can you tell us a little bit about that, what that looked like for you?
Yeah, that's a really flattering way to put it. But for the best part of a decade, I was involved with the Scottish national canoeing team in a racing and then a coaching capacity for a long time. So, yeah.
Okay. And in terms of just the schedule on that and how much life that took up, tell us a little bit about that, because I think that some of us don't quite understand what it is like to be on a national sports team.
Yeah, it's pretty all-consuming, to be honest. It's very much a bubble. Performance sport is a world that, even at the limited success that I had, takes all of your physical effort, but also all of your mind. You're constantly on your thoughts. How do I get better? How do I achieve? It's a selfish, can be a selfish and difficult place to be as a Christian, for sure.
And today we're going to be looking at kind of what do we build our life upon? What's the foundation? At that point in your life, what would you say was the foundation for you?
Yeah, no doubt. I would have called myself a Christian, absolutely, but my identity was completely in success, whether in a little boat or academically or whatever else. I fully believed that if you just outcompete those around you, you can build whatever life you want, and you can be Ben, the successful person. And I think I really got caught up in that. Yeah,
and Ben, because I think there's a lot of us that get caught up in that. What's the attraction of that? Why was that a good foundation, or was it a good foundation?
It was a terrible foundation, yeah. I think it's just an easy snowball that keeps moving as to how just to achieve, I guess. And any time you do that, glory comes back to you. And I think sinfully that feels really nice. But thankfully, God took that away in my life.
And I think the other challenge, of course, is when you're making kind of winning and success your foundation, it requires winning and success, doesn't it? Can you share with us a little bit about your journey kind of going into the, almost near professional sport? What did that look like in terms of just, building your life upon that? Did it always meet success?
No, I mean, you lose a lot more than you win, certainly if you're me. So I think naturally it becomes a really unstable foundation. And actually God took that really wisely away from me. The little sandcastle of success that I'd built for myself got taken away. I got really ill, ended up back in hospital in the UK, dropped out of university, stopped canoeing, and everything that I'd built my identity on was gone in what felt like a heartbeat. I was back in tiny wee Aberfeldy. None of my friends were there anymore. And everything that I thought I'd achieved felt like it was gone, yeah.
And can you maybe share with us a little bit about what did that feel like? Like, because going from such quite highs to then a place where you feel like you've kind of fallen backwards. What was that like for you in terms of both spiritually and emotionally?
Yeah, incredibly difficult. I suffered physically, but mentally was in a really, really dark place. And I think in that darkness, just became very angry at God, was very far from him because he wasn't my foundation. I'd reduced the God of the universe, my savior, into this kind of bit part role. That's as long as I was achieving on my own terms, then there was room for God. But when that was all gone, I found myself far from him, angry at him. Yeah, really difficult time.
Now, so tell me about, in that dark place, how did Christ meet you? Because I think that I'm just thinking about it from God's perspective. If I had someone who was angry at me, what would I do? So tell us, what did God do in that dark place?
Yeah, so I remember really vividly like crying out in anger to God and kind of expecting a light beam to come through my window and all to be okay, and that didn't happen. But really gradually and slowly, God allowed my health to get better. I managed to get back to university. My brother really faithfully kind of dragged me along to church, which I'm incredibly grateful for. The minister who I'd met just that morning was up the front, and he announced that the whole church was going to do a one-to-one Bible reading. We're going to meet up for 4 weeks with someone else in the congregation. You're going to read the Bible together. And he pointed at me and said, "We've never met. Would you like to be my partner?" And then it went from 4 weeks of reading the Bible, which must have been incredibly painful for him where I was at the time, to 6 months, to years, to a man who's still very much in my life, through my life, faithfully opening the Bible to me, and in using that and other godly men around me, God slowly drew me back to the reality of the gospel, the reality that actually, if this is true, which I believe it is, the success of Jesus Christ on the cross and rising from the dead is a success that can reframe my whole life, and actually, thankfully, isn't dependent on my ability at canoeing.
And I want to get to that, but one thing I think that some of us will be kind of struck by there is that biting point of someone being quite bold and saying, hey, you there, read the Bible with me. That's got to be intimidating for you. I'm sure it's intimidating actually for the person asking that. What did that mean for you? Because I think that sometimes those of us who are inviting folks along think, gosh, I can't be that bold. What did it mean for you?
I can't understate how pivotal it was in my life, I think. Yeah, it was huge. I was reluctant at first. I'm sitting there going, I absolutely do not want to be in your church, let alone meeting you on top of church to read the Bible. But I think he probably to this day has no idea of the influence he's had in my life. So I think the way that God just uses ordinary people in those situations is extraordinary, yeah.
And in terms of what does it mean now to have Christ as your foundation?
It's life-changing, right? It reframes everything, because it means I'm still horrifically competitive, sinful all the time, but it allows a foundation that is secure. It's a reframing of everything you do in your life that actually, if despite your sinfulness, His glory is your end and only goal, actually whatever else happens is okay. And actually in that, it takes the pressure off, and I find incredibly liberating as I still try and do things on my own strength all the time.
Well, Ben, I want to thank you for sharing with us. I would venture to guess that there's some folks that are listening right now that maybe do feel that pressure. Do know that if you want to speak to Ben at the end of the day, I'm sure he'd love to chat with you further about his story and his journey towards Jesus. And if you're watching online and you want to get connected with Ben and maybe have a conversation, just email me, and we'll make sure that can happen. Thank you, Ben, so much for sharing.
No worries, thanks.